Hi everybody, Johnny here. I hope you're doing great today. You can find more good math at jmathpage.com. Today we're thinking about multiplication, but we're going to think about it in a special way. We're going to think about multiplication in terms of area. So let's start with an idea. Let's say you have a rug, and that rug measures 3 feet on one side by 4 feet on another. That sounds like a usual kind of rug. This is going to help us think about area, because area is always about the spaces inside things. So a 3 foot by 4 foot rug, what does that look like? Let's draw one. Let me see. On one side we said it would have 3 feet. So we'll say this is 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet on one side. So 3 feet measure on one side. On the other side we need to measure 4 feet. So 1, 2, 3, 4 foot measure on the other side. So 4 feet across the top. Well, we know how big the rug should be, but it certainly doesn't look like a rug. So I think we need to make a rectangle to see it better. So our rectangle or rug will have a measure of 3 feet on this side, 4 feet on this side, 3 feet on this side, and 4 feet across the top. Now that's beginning to look like a rug, though it's a rather boring rug with nothing on the inside. Now here's a big idea. The idea of area is to measure the inside, or the space taken up by a shape. So within this shape, we want to think about everything in terms of how many squares we can make. And these squares have to be 1 foot by 1 foot in measure. So this is a square, this will be another square, and this will be another square. How many of these squares might we fit in here? Well, that's a hard way to see it. So why don't we draw them in? So let's go ahead and draw the squares inside. How many do you think will fit in? Well, here's one, and another, and another. Okay, we're getting the idea. Have you figured out how many there will be inside yet? Now, the measure of the area is how many of these squares will fit inside the rectangle. Okay, now I'm done. How many squares are there? Well, let's figure this out together. I noticed something here, that every row has 4 squares in it. So let's count that way. This first row has 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. The second row has 4 more, so it's 5, 6, 7, 8 altogether to here. If we add the next row, 9, 10, 11, 12, we have 12 squares altogether. Okay, that's important because 12 squares tell us the area of a 3 foot by 4 foot rectangle or rug. So 3 foot by 4 foot rug has an area of 12 square feet. So that's all we need to know about area. We found a rectangle, and we asked ourselves how many square feet could fit on the inside, and we found out 12 square feet. So we're good on area, but what about multiplication? Well, there's something in here we need to pay attention to. Did you notice that there were 3 rows? 1, 2, 3. And for every row there were 4 columns? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we could also think about this as 3 rows by 4 columns. 3 by 4. So I'm counting 4 3 times, right? 4 and 4 and 4. I'm counting 4 3 times. And if I count 4 3 times, what do I get? I get 12. So now we can see how an area model can tell us about multiplication. Let's do another one. Let's do a bigger rug. Let's do 5 feet by 6 feet. Okay. Now we'll have to draw it again. So let's go ahead and measure. On this side, we need to measure out 5. Okay, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures on this side, and we'll call this 5 feet. Okay, how much do we have to do on the other side? It's going to be 6 feet, right? Let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 measures over here. So this side is 6 feet in measure. Again, we're kind of stuck here because we don't have a rectangle, so we can't find the area. So we'll have to make our rectangle. Let's go ahead and do that. This side here will have to measure 5 feet. The base will have to measure 6 feet. This side, 5 feet. And across the top, 6 feet again. Now we have our rug, but it's very boring. What we want this time again in the area is to find out how many foot squares will fit inside. This was our measure of a foot here. So this is 1 square foot. This will be 2 square feet, 3 square feet, 4 square feet. How many do you think there will be? Let's find out. Okay. If we start here and start putting in squares, let's find out how many there will be. Looks like they're going to be more this time than last. Okay. Another square, another square, another, another. It's going to be more work for me this time. How many squares do you think there will be altogether? You might start looking at the rows and the columns again to think about it, because that's how we think about it in terms of multiplication. I'm getting there. All right, almost there. Last one. All right. That was a lot of good squares. Those were great squares. How many did you count altogether? Well, I'm going to count them. And this time I'm going to use the rows again, because I think that's a smart way to go. This first row has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. That's good. This second row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 also, and 6 and 6 together give us 12. So we have 12 altogether. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Next row, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. The last row, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. We counted 30 squares altogether in here. Now this tells us something important. If we're thinking in terms of area, how many squares fit inside the rectangle, we know that 30 squares fit inside a rectangle that is 5 foot on one side and 6 feet on the other. So we should write that 5 feet by 6 feet has an area of 30 square feet. Again, we understand this in terms of area. How does that help us in terms of multiplication? Well, let's use what we did before. We know that we have 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our 5 rows all intersect with 6 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 columns. So we can say that 5 rows by 6 columns gives us 30 altogether. Okay? So this is another way of looking at an area model to find multiplication. Now let's do one more, all right? This is the last one. This time, let's think about things in terms, let's flip it this time. Instead of the area of a rug, what if instead I wrote out for you simply 4 times 7? What would you do with this? Well, if we're using an area model to understand multiplication, Let's draw this out. Make this a little neater. So 4 times 7. That's better. Now we want to do the same as we've done before. We can use an area model, right? So 4, we'll need to have a measure of 4 on one side. So we'll do that. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 on one side. So this is a measure of 4. On the other side, we'll need a measure of 7, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is a measure of 7 over here. As before, 4 times 7 will look like this. We're making 4 rows and 7 columns. Let's go ahead and build our rectangle. That's helped us before. So on this side, we'll have a measure of 4. This side, a measure of 7. This side, a measure of 4. And on the last side, also a measure of 7. Okay, so it's 4 by 7. Now we need to have our squares again, don't we? So this time, let's go ahead and build our squares on the inside. Let's see. Alright, so let's go ahead and build them. You can count them, or you can try to figure out how many squares are going to be on the inside of a rectangle that's 4 rows by 7 rows. 4 rows by 7 rows, and we've written that out as 4 times 7. Okay. How many all together? That's a lot of squares. Is it more or less than the last one we made? We'll have to find out. That's a funny one. Okay. Now we have all of them. Now if we look at this, we can count how many squares there are. We know that in the first row there are 7, right? If we add the next row of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, we have 14 squares now. The next row of 7, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And the last row of 7, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 altogether. Now knowing this, we can say that a rectangle that is 4 units or measures long on one side and 7 units or measures long on the other side gives us an area of 28 square units, right? But we can also understand this as 4 times 7 equals 28. And that's one way to think about how area can help us think about multiplication. So I hope these models have been helpful to you. This is how to think about multiplication in terms of area. I hope it's been useful to you.